deeply unsettling happening to our relationship with ownership in America, and it goes far beyond the headlines of private equity buying up housing or big box stores replacing local businesses. We are witnessing a fundamental shift in how we psychologically connect with wealth creation, and I think it's leaving lasting scars on our financial psychology. Back in the early 1800s, about 80% of Americans were self employed. Today, that number is under 10%. And that represents a complete rewiring of our economic DNA. When we lose ownership, we lose agency. Our belief that we can meaningfully participate in our own wealth creation. And the psychological impact of this is very profound. When private equity firms become our landlords and three companies own most of the food supply, we shift from being active participants in the economy to passive consumers. It's almost like being renters in our own economy, not just of houses, but of our own economic futures. Ownership consolidation creates a really insidious form of financial learned helplessness. When the path to ownership, home ownership, ownership over your wealth, etc., becomes increasingly narrow, many people start to view wealth as something that happens to them rather than something they create. And the psychological distance between worker and owner, as it grows, it reinforces a mindset of scarcity and dependence. When everything from housing to healthcare is controlled by massive corporations, the stakes of striking out on your own become impossibly high. So what you get is a risk-averse population that is increasingly dependent on corporate employment for their basic needs. And the real cost of all this is financial, but it's also aspirational. Every time a local business is replaced by a chain store, every time a family home is bought by an investment firm, that represents another thread torn in the fabric of American economic mobility. We're not just losing ownership, we're losing belief in our possibility of ownership. And as this crisis deepens, we really need to recognize that rebuilding ownership opportunities isn't just about economic policy. It is about preserving our collective financial psychology and our belief in economic agency. Because once we lose that, we lose something very fundamental to the American spirit and ethos, the belief that we can all be builders, not just buyers, in our own economy.